The beaches in Florida's St Petersburg Clearwater area are postcard pretty, white sand and endless water. But there is another side to this picture, and it is not pretty. This region has been hammered by the recession. Unemployment at 10% is well above the national average. There have been more than 2,000 foreclosures in the last 8 months, and the homeless statistics have rocketed, 15% in the last 2 years. The numbers are relentless, and behind each one, a victim of the economic chaos. Tonight we put names and faces on the numbers.
I had these things, and now they're gone.
Dave Bunnell never saw it coming.
It's not something I would have predicted for myself. I'm not sure that anyone does.
It just wasn't in the cards, not for a creative guy like him. With 4 decades of writing, producing, and directing behind him, he says, including a specialty in what his resume calls persuasive messaging.
I've done some major advertising campaigns. I've also written and directed documentaries. So I've worked both in film and TV, and worked with, in the advertising side, worked with some major national accounts.
My God, I've never seen anything like that!
This is one of Dave's productions, a documentary about a firestorm in California that he wrote and directed back in the early 1990s. Today, Dave Bunnell is jobless. He says his last job was as a senior copywriter at a marketing company here in St. Petersburg, earning $60,000 a year. Then the recession hit in the fall of 2007 and took Dave's job with it. At 59, Dave has been laid off before, but he says he's always bounced back.
I've made a lot of right decisions. I've landed on my feet when things have gone badly.
This time was different. This time, in this economy, he couldn't land on his feet. This time, Dave Bunnell is not only jobless, he is homeless, and he certainly wasn't prepared for that.
You don't think during bad times, oh my God, I hope I don't end up homeless. I mean, it's just not a thought that comes racing through your mind.
Soon after being laid off, Dave had to give up his apartment. He says he downsized, then moved in with friends, and eventually landed in this Salvation Army shelter with a suitcase. Now, instead of writing snappy ads, he volunteers at the shelter's cafe.
Let me get some of your mess, mister.
Serving others like him, who have nothing else to do and nowhere else to go. At night, he sleeps on a mat in the corner of the cafe.
It's humbling. That's the one thing I come back to constantly, is that it's a very, very humbling feeling.
Here's Mama. Oh, ready?
Dave Bunnell's experience is Laura Hall's worst fear. Laura is 26. She's unemployed too.
All right, ready? Come on, let's go inside.
But unlike Dave, who has no family to support, Laura, who is separated from her husband, has 2 young children, one an infant.
Sometimes I can't deal. I just can't deal with it. I just break down and cry. I make sure the kids are asleep. You know, they're in the bedroom, Mommy comes out here and cries.
She cries because her unemployment insurance won't last much longer, because she says she's $5,000 in debt and about to fall behind in rent for her 1-bedroom trailer. And she cries because she can't find another job to replace the one she loved and lost last August.
You know, I understand stuff happens. It just sucks for me.
Because she says it had been such a great fit. A local lawyer had hired her to answer phones and sort files. Laura, who has her GED and got her started in a mailroom, says the new job went well from day one.
My boss thought I was doing really good, so she gave me a raise within 2 weeks. I'm like, this is awesome.
She was earning $400 a week, good money for her family. She and her husband were living in an apartment, driving 2 cars. But 6 months later, it all came crashing down. Laura separated from her husband, and soon after, she was laid off.
He goes, we're not firing you. It's a business decision. We just can't have you on the payroll right now. You know, things are happening with us.
They wrote her a letter saying just that. Since then, Laura has had temporary work, but nothing permanent. Her second child was born in January. She's on food stamps, and now her worst fear? That she'll lose her home.
That hurts. Come here, see.
If that happens, Laura isn't sure what she'll do. She says her mom can't take the three of them in. She's already raising 2 other grandchildren. And Laura says she can't burden her friends. They're struggling too.
I've got to try to do something to keep us afloat, to keep us going.
Just got to keep going. You just can't sit there and dwell on it. I'd be a basket case if I did.
Tracy Trummer knows that desperate feeling well. Tracy is a mom too. She's also living on her own. She and her long-term boyfriend split up 5 years ago.
Can I help you?
Daughter Morgan is 14 and in 7th grade.
You can just tell we're getting behind a lot.
Tracy lost her job in late 2007 when the recession started. She says she had been earning almost $30,000 a year, counting overtime. She hasn't been able to find another full-time job since, though at 44, she has more than 2 decades of experience working administrative jobs in the St. Petersburg area. One of those jobs lasted a decade, another 4 years. So at first, Tracy was optimistic.
I was like, well, I can go out there. I can get one. This is Florida. I can get a job. And boy, was I wrong.
But she says she kept looking, kept hoping, kept going to interviews without any luck.
I've gone in there, and I've had 4 people sitting in the lobby. And, well, everybody's like, you know, it's nerve-wracking. You've got too many people applying for that one little job.
Temporary jobs helped, but not enough. Finally, last month, when she was almost $3,000 behind in the rent, Tracy was told to vacate her trailer home. She was shell-shocked.
What do I do? You know, you got a day, 2 days notice. Where do I go? What do I do now?
She started working the phones and packing up.
Oh, I'm very hurt. You feel sad that nobody can see your side of the situation.
Daughter Morgan was hiding her true feelings.
It's like a cycle. If you don't have a job, you don't get money. And if you don't have money, you can't pay rent. And if you don't pay rent, you have to move.
Tracy knows there are more homeless people in the St. Petersburg Clearwater area than ever before, as many as 6,000 on any given day. Emergency shelters are full and turning people away. A tent city has sprung up to meet the demand.
I'm scared. You see it in the newspapers here all the time. They're overflowing to capacity.
Tracy and her daughter were well on their way to becoming one more sad statistic in a place full of them.
We're going to move you in. You will have 2 months of rent free.
Instead, Tracy and her daughter caught a break.
This one right here?
That's your house.
Wow.
A big one.
We should have been in.
It's huge. Oh my God, Morgan.
There's a piano. A piano!
Sudden bliss for a girl who's been fiddling around on a small keyboard for years. Catholic Charities, a regional nonprofit, was providing them with a 2-bedroom house to live in.
Room in the closet. You got a closet.
Under the rules, Tracy has to get a job in 6 months with the charity's help, and she can stay until she gets back on her feet financially, however long that takes. Tracy hasn't lived in a house for more than 2 decades. Her daughter never has.
Love it. We're supposed to talk about it, and I already know what she's going to say.
There's a piano!
For Tracy and her daughter, there is now a chance at a new beginning. For Laura, looking for jobs at her local library, there is an urgent hope for one. And for Dave, who attends spiritual lessons daily, there is a growing faith that despite these tough times, there will be one. Because when you're living on the edge of an economy in free fall, hope and faith and a helping hand are sometimes all you have.